Being a Christian is...
Ooh, that's a good one.
In a sentence or a word? In a word?
Underestimated.
Living in a perpetual state of forgiveness. Having the understanding that we have all fallen short, that nobody's perfect, to understand that you're forgiven.
I would probably say tough. I mean, in a sentence, I would say we live in a world where believers are no longer the norm.
I can honestly say it hasn't been a negative one. At least the people who I'm constantly interact with, who don't believe in God, they're not like off-put by the way I kind of go about life or talk about God or talk about how, scripture or going to church or anything like that. They kind of just, it's like, oh, okay, that's pretty much it. They have questions, and I think that kind of opens up the opportunity to kind of talk about it and kind of engage them. But it hasn't been negative per se.
I'm trying to call to mind any specific instance, and nothing really kind of sticks out. I think the way, which I think is not necessarily a bad thing, right? So I think it could be indicative of a couple of different things. I think one of the most core tenets of Christianity is love, right? Demonstrating the love of Christ. Christ, who was the embodiment demonstrating the love of God. And so there are times when my faith looks different than what the culture says. But I think that because I choose to lead with love, it minimizes, one, the instances of contentious, right, conversations with those who don't believe the same thing that I believe. But it limits that for two different reasons, right? So one, I don't feel a need to attack them and or their belief system. But two, I think because I don't feel the need to attack them and their belief system, then they don't feel defensive toward me and then feel a need to retaliate by attacking my faith and my belief system. Thankfully, I can't say that I have necessarily had any contentious encounters with those who don't believe the same thing that I do, which I'm grateful for.
So I've had some run-ins over the years with non-believers, and I would say my most memorable one would be with a young lady who just wouldn't believe, and she got frustrated throughout the whole conversation. And I just told her I would just keep her in prayer. I'll answer that again. I don't like that answer.
Thank you, Sam.
So I'll be totally honest. My lifestyle hasn't always been the most Christian, if you will. So some believers have loved me because I haven't been an example of what God would call for. While some others have admired what I do for God and in church, and so they therefore either stay away from me or attempt to sway me back to the other side, if you will.
I would say absolutely, and not in a bad way. I think sometimes you can get a question like that, and it's kind of like, well, being a Christian changes, your life, and you start talking about all the can'ts. I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't, have fun. But that's not the type of life that Christ has called us to. Jesus said, "I come that you might have life, and life more abundantly." And so, in that, I believe I have an abundant life. I'm having probably more fun now than I did, when I was in college. I think it's all a matter of perspective. What you believe is is fun in one season may not be fun in another season, and it just depends on how you grow and you mature as an adult.
Oh yeah, I think it would definitely look different. I think I would spend a lot more time focusing on myself, my family, my income, my children, than I would be trying to build a relationship with Christ, and I would be trying to grow in my walk, to increase my faith, to encounter the Spirit, to minister to others, and just make myself available to Christ and let Him use me. I think it would be more focused on what can I do for myself, what can I do for my family, how much can I make? You know, it would be more about building up my net worth than it would be building up myself and my Christ-like worth.
If I wasn't a Christian, yeah, it'd probably be a lot different. If I wasn't a Christian, because of the fact I know me, and I know that when I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing, or when I wasn't really following God like I should, because I've been in church all my life, but it was a time frame where I kind of fell off. And too many things happened, but the crazy part about it is that I never felt like God left, you know what I mean? I just felt like I left, you know what I mean? And because of that, a lot of stuff happened, you know what I mean? I probably shouldn't have, but I always feel like people go through a training in their life for a reason. I think that people are purposed to go through certain things, and even feeling like you're leaving God is often necessary to kind of help you grow.
Honestly, I think it would if I wasn't, because my aunt taught me to tithe my time, and that's kind of like just giving your time to Christ more than just giving your money, giving your time, helping in your church, ministering, doing different things like that. And I say, like, if I wasn't doing that, I'd just be out doing something else.
Yeah, that is a good one.
It's a loaded one, so I'll give you a minute. Take
So
your time.
I will preface this answer by saying I'm a really bad political scientist. I studied. I have a degree actually at home.
I think it is just so easy to get consumed by what's happening, especially all the rhetoric from our current administration. And it's easy to want to hate everybody who kind of associates themselves with what he says and believes what he says. But we are called to pray for our leadership. And so I think that's the hardest thing about it, is doing that, even though we avidly oppose everything that kind of comes from that. So I think we have to always remember what love is supposed to look like. And I think that's, like I mentioned before, how love is the center of who God said we should be. Like, we should love our neighbors as ourselves, love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you. So, I mean, all of that is part of what love is supposed to look like, and compassion and understanding and all of those things. And so it's, even though we kind of have visceral reactions to what's happening, I think we have to be grounded in that, in love, and also and pray for our administration, and also realize that ultimately it's not the government who controls what's happening in our world. It's ultimately like God knows and controls all things. Like he sees it all, and so nothing is outside of his view. And so I think we have to rest easy in knowing that he knows what's happening, and not to worry.
I think politics I think they use Christianity as a way to push agendas. I don't necessarily believe that a lot of them believe, in the world. I think they just use it as a way to push agendas to get, just like anything else. It's a great tool to get people to vote for a certain party. And oftentimes it's hard to even, as Christians, we know that God should be involved in everything.
But as human beings and pushing agendas, Christianity is good to a certain point, and then it hits sin. It's kind of difficult to, that'll be a long conversation.
Politics are ugly. Yes, it's hard to stay focused.
I will say, I'm not wild about the current leadership in our country. I can say it that way. But I will also say that I'm not hopeless because of it. There are a lot of people who were devastated, right? If we can just talk about the current leadership of this country when he was elected, absolutely devastated. And as for me, I get it. Yeah, it's crazy that could happen, but not so far-fetched, right? Considering where we live and the age that we live in. I think based on people's reactions, it's evident that a lot of people place their hope in the person who holds this office, right? The person who holds the office of president. Because in our country, right, that's the highest authority. But I am grateful that I don't have to be subject to that hopelessness, because my hope and my faith is not in a president. No matter if that is a black president, a white president, leads the country well, who I think doesn't lead the country well. It doesn't matter because my faith is not in that person. My hope is not in that person. My hope and my faith lies in the one who has the ultimate authority over that person.
Whew.
Just in general?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
All right.
I have a really good friend of mine. His name is Nathan James. He's a phenomenal actor. He lives in New York now, and he's been a part of various TV series, The Wire, just all kinds of great things he's doing right now. I remember when we were younger, and he had this one poem, and I can't remember exactly how the line goes, so Nate, forgive me if I mess this up. But he was saying that if you don't have a personality, it's easy. All you have to do is buy one from MTV. He goes on to say that he talks about this description of this identity that you can have. All you need is some Timbs, a fitted, and a white tee. And so I remember hearing that line and thinking like, wow. Like when you turn on the music videos or anything in entertainment, and then you look at people that walk around you every single day, you see how we have been groomed, to become this other image. We were created in the image of God. And the image of God, the word there, it means His likeness, created to be like Him. And so what's crazy about that is that when the enemy came in that scene in the garden, the first thing he says to them is, hey, if you go and do something that God told you not to do, if you disobey Him, then you'll be just like Him. And it's like nobody stopped and said, but wait a second, I'm already like Him. And so that's the trick of the enemy, is to make us believe that we're missing out on something.
Yes, 100% yes. It's in everywhere, from billboards to TV shows to music. Because in the Bible it says, faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. And mostly everything we hear, especially music, is not God related. And it's all seductive and all just not the right pathway that we all need in our lives, especially to hear, because once you hear it, you feel like, oh, you're certain to go that way. So that's why entertainment is kind of like a hook and line, because if you get hooked into the wrong thing, it's going to pull you in and you won't be able to get away from it. But if you do, it's going to be a hard way to get away from it.
I do believe we were bombarded with things that make it hard to stay focused. I can't remember the exact scripture, but I believe it was Paul who said to be mindful of what we watch, what we listen to, how much time we spend focusing and listening to worldly things, because that over time can that's no longer putting a bug in your head. Eventually it becomes the way you live, the way you think, the way you operate.
So I'll answer the second question first. Yes. Because that's the nature of entertainment, right? So entertainment literally is meant to captivate us, right? To keep us captive. Which is a really great kind of segue, right, into this idea of being captive. And so I feel like the entertainment industry, their entire existence is based on finding out what will capture people's attention and then keep it, right? Whether it is movies, right, television, they find what captivates people and then they beat it to death. You know what I mean? Reality television. That wasn't a thing when I was growing up, and I'm not that old. I'm really not, I promise. I got the license to prove it. But when I was growing up, reality TV wasn't a thing. Now, everybody wants this all access pass into other people's lives instead of living a life themselves.
I just decided that church was important. Church was somewhere that I needed to be. And so I started going to church by myself when I was 8. And then when I was 9, I believe, I was saved and then baptized. And ever since then, I've gone to church and I've remained active. So I would just say that it's just something that felt right from a young age.
I believe that the Lord calls us, and there's a scripture that says that He stands at the door and He knocks. And I believe that it's that knocking that draws us. We chase Him, but He catches us. I remember whenever I was at Slippery Rock University. All right. Now, growing up, I would kind of say I kind of grew up in church. It was an AME church. It wasn't something that, it was almost like I went because my parents took me. It wasn't like I don't feel like I had a true relationship. And I remember being in college and I'm walking to go meet a friend of mine. Let's say it's about 9:30, 10 o'clock. I go to his dorm room and it's kind of like propped up on his bed. He has a nightlight on or the lamp on, and he has his Bible open. He starts telling me about what he's reading, and it's amazing to me. I've never heard a person my age tell the story of the Bible in language that I understood. And so I'm sitting in a chair like this, and they have Russ and they have Rob, and I'm just being tag team by the word, at almost 1 in the morning. This just elevates my belief system to a new level. And so I'm walking up the steps. Remember, the dorm is shut down, and there's this study lounge that's at the top of the steps. So as I'm walking up the steps, I say, Lord, I know it's late, but I say, let Gabe be up, because I'm too excited. I got to tell him what happened. So I'm walking up steps, and then finally the last word I say is Lord, let him not only be up, but let him be sitting in this study lounge. I get to the top of the steps, and Gabe is sitting in the study lounge. I flipped out. I said, oh my God! I'm hollering, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, dude, what's going on, man? And I tell him the same story I told you. And he was just like, what? He couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I think when you first become saved, God gives you, he just kind of gives you a miracle to charge of your belief?
So it was always in me, or my dad made it so that, and my mom, they made it so that we knew God, from the jump. Then I made the transition to come actually to Macedonia. I was at Macedonia for the majority of my high school years, where I made the decision to, follow God myself, and I loved it, and I mean, so that was, I think during my high school years when I decided to be a Christian and follow Christ, because I felt like this is what I wanted, this is what I wanted to do.
To be honest with you, this little one right here, God used her to pull me to Him. Of course, she got to being born. The less I started doing other stuff, I cut off the video games. I was like, I just kept getting this feeling like, yo, I need you to cut this off. So I just, I sold all my video games. I ain't had time to raise a kid if I'm sitting around playing video games for 14 hours a day. I just remember this feeling, stop drinking so much. Matter of fact, just cut it off right now. And the last struggle was, cursing, smoking, and it wasn't until, let me say, March 17, 2013. We were in court, and I'm like, her mom's white and black. No way in heck I'm gonna get any type of custody over this baby. They're gonna hit me with all types of child support. And my grandma was in court with me. She went through the process with me the whole way, and she just looked at me like, you got this. God's gonna make a way in this situation, and that child is gonna be the reason that you come back to Christ. And I'm sitting there actually crazy, like, all right, whatever, grandma. That first encounter was that day that I got custody. Then the second encounter was Easter, and it just kept trickling up from then. Ever since then, man, I just been all in. I ain't never going back.
The main reason why Christianity is like the way it is and how I believe in it, because of God will show you everything, knowing that we don't know everything. And He wants us to realize that we don't know everything, but through Him and only Him, we can process it. We can see the right way. We can go through all our trials and tribulations just like that. And it's only by Him and through Him that we can do it.
Yeah, the way He has kept my family. Like I look at my parents and looking at my mother as the truest example, aside from God, of what love is supposed to look like loving the unlovable, patience, compassion, and I see the God in her, and I see the way He has shown up for her. And so growing up with that kind of example, it's like, man, I think about her example from my own life, like what perpetual prayer looks like, and the result of your prayer, and to see the way that God will come through for you. If you are faithful, He will be faithful too.
As a kid, all I knew was, you don't swear, you don't have sex before marriage, you don't talk back to your parents, you don't. But what is the one question every kid wants to know? Why? At 4 years old, all of their questions are why. Well, don't do this. Why? Well, because you don't this, that, and the other. Why? Well, because such and why? That's the question. And I came to learn as an adult that had I been given whys as a child growing up in the church, I could have avoided a lot of pitfalls that I hit as an adult. But because that Christianity, if you will, was about the appearance of holiness, right? And not actual holiness, not actual relationship with God, not actual intimacy with God, just looking like you have a good, close relationship with God. Nobody gave any whys. It was do this, don't do that, period. And who would want that? He is authentic because He accepts the authentic me, who is flawed, imperfect, broken, scarred, right? But he accepts me still, as I am. And then somewhere in the process changes me before I even realize it. Who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want that authenticity? And so I think what drew me in was a true encounter with God.
What's up, y'all? This is Mike Rue.
This is Mike.
Joey Struthers.
My name is Candace O'Keller.
Ron Thompson.
My name is Angelique Struthers.
That's what I think.
This is what I think.
And this is what I think.
And this is what I think.
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 All right. Done deal.